pretty happy with how these blanks turned out. They definitely took longer than I expected, but hey, I mean, we had never done more than 2 of these at a time, and I was having quite a bit of help before, or somebody else was doing all of it. And so I'm pretty happy at this point that they've turned out as good as they have. In no way would we have shipped crappy quality parts. I'm just saying I'm happy with how I've done so far, which is kind of funny to say. We're drilling out a big hole on the bottom of the bases to act as a lead-in point. So we enter into this hole and the cam knows where this hole is on the bottom, and that way our huge 3/4 inch roughing tool doesn't have to just hog through 2 inches of material before it gets to its cutting point. It just speeds things up and makes it a little less sketchy of an operation. I'm setting up this Vortex chip breaker tool, which I'm going to use on the next job. So I'm using this piece of Baltic birch as a fixture, so the whole time I run this operation, it's just going to be vacuumed down to the swirl board. If you heard the spindle ramp up there, I quickly sped up the spindle because for some reason I mistyped 8,000 instead of 18,000, and the spindle's running way too slow. All I'm doing here is using a 45-degree engraving tool to make some simple offset lines so I can line up stock in the next step. For those of you keeping score at home, I'm now using that Amana 45-degree tool at 150 inches a minute, whereas I was doing 60 inches a minute the other day. So we need to do about 4 setups of 5 pieces of material. I started out only using 2 screws, but that was definitely not enough, and I ended up with 5 in the end, but I didn't lose any parts, surprisingly. So the goal of this project was to get as many of these plugs as we could get out of just standard 2x4s. I'd love to find a tool that can cut 1.5 inches deep that isn't a 1/2 inch in width, because you lose a ton of space just at the tool width. Here I realized that something was wrong. Dust collection on and no suction. Oh, that's because the hose isn't connected. That's not a noise you want to hear often. Turns out it was just a knot in the back and we needed a few more screws. So I'm trying to prepare as much as I can of this offline, adding all those extra screws that I didn't know about the first time, so I've gotten pretty far. It's essentially our version of an offline pallet, so all this can be ready to go right back on this board I'm using as a fixture. So yeah, yeah, just doing that. If you've never used one of these things, you gotta get one. I'll put one in the link below, the description. It's a non-marring countersink. Fantastic. You can set the depth of both the head sink and the tool depth. This is the head. That's the tool, the actual drill bit. Really nice. So I didn't fill up the rest of the sheet because I wanted to have even intervals of how many boards I was making. So I need to do 20 boards, and there's 5 up, so even intervals. I don't have to have 2 cam setups. Pretty sweet. Came out really well. I gotta go make some cam changes. Clean this up a little bit first. One could always be satisfied and just keep the same settings for the next 3 runs, but I can't. So I went back and tweaked those cam settings a little bit, made the roughing pass a little bit slower, sped up the finishing pass, and we ended up dropping the time on each run quite a bit, and that makes me happy. And we're still getting the same results, and we got the entire run without any damaged parts, so pretty happy with that. As AVE would say, contact! Look at all those plugs. Yes, this is still a CNC channel. If I've been able to help you at all, maybe just with the levity of watching me mess up in these vlogs, would you consider subscribing? It's a painless little gesture, but it means a bunch to me. If you have already subscribed, maybe just give a thumbs up. If you hate when people ask this, give me a thumbs down. Anyway, till next time.